Fatal Frame is a unique entry into the survival horror genre from developer Tecmo. The game was released earlier this year for the PlayStation 2 and has since seen a few upgrades for an Xbox release. The game's premise is pretty much in line with what you'd expect from a survival horror game. You have a young schoolgirl named Miko Hinasaki who has gone off in search of her brother Mafuyu, who has disappeared inside the Himuro mansion. Mafuyu actually disappeared while he was searching for a renowned author in the mansion. Apparently the author and his entire research team disappeared there as well. So even though there's already a pretty high body count and people are disappearing left and right, Miko decides to just go for it and find her brother. As you'd expect, the mansion is not very inviting. In fact, it's pretty packed with ghosts, which will serve as the primary enemy that you'll be facing in the game. Now, like most survival horror games, you're going to have to find a way to actually deal with all these enemies that you're encountering. But where Fatal Frame differs from, say, a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill, is that, you're pretty much dealing with ghosts. And you can't really shoot them or blow them up or hit them with a pipe. So the game gives you sort of a different way of dealing with them, which is providing you with an enchanted camera. Basically, you'll deal with a ghost by taking their pictures. Every time you snap a picture of a ghost, they will take damage, and eventually you'll whittle down their health bar enough and really kill them. The camera actually serves as kind of an interesting component of the gameplay because it not only serves as a weapon, but it's also sort of a useful tool in your search for clues in the game. As you go through the various rooms in the house and even the outlying areas of the mansion, you'll come across areas where if you take a picture of them with your camera, will reveal hidden passages, clues, whatever, which are pretty crucial to making it deeper into the game. The whole puzzle-solving mechanic is a little different because, like I said, you're going to have sequences with the camera revealing things, and you're going to have other sequences where you're going to have to rely on your brain and putting together the various clues that you've discovered. So it's got kind of an interesting mix, which is pretty engaging. The puzzles have actually been tweaked a little bit for the Xbox version. There was one in particular from the PlayStation 2 game that had a bunch of Japanese numerals that pretty much required you to have a notebook handy so you could sort of write everything down, but that's been switched to standard numbers, which makes it a lot easier. The game structure is pretty faithful to the survival horror genre. You're going to spend the bulk of your time exploring the various rooms of the mansion, looking for clues, finding items and or keys that will let you go deeper into the mansion, and of course dealing with your enemies in the game. Now, when you're taking pictures of the ghosts, you're actually going to have a couple options in terms of how much damage you can deal. Once you center the ghost in your camera, if you take a picture like right away, you'll do a little bit of damage. But if you can manage to keep it in frame for a little bit, you'll start to notice that runes will sort of appear on the outer ring of your viewfinder, and the more of those that you have, when you actually take a picture, you will cause more damage. If you wait till pretty close to the last minute, you'll also notice that the ring will turn red. And if you can take a picture when it's red, you will do the maximum amount of damage and earn the maximum amount of points when you attack the ghost. Now, the points that you earn from attacking ghosts are quite useful in the game because you can use them to improve your camera's abilities and or unlock bonus features of the camera once you've found the special stones in the game. The special features of the camera can turn out to be pretty useful. Everything from making the ghost more visible for a longer amount of time to widening the scope of your viewfinder to let you see more. So you're going to find that you're going to have to find a happy balance between getting rid of the ghost as quickly as possible without taking any damage. And in terms of its graphics, Fatal Frame looks pretty good on the Xbox. The game's obviously seen a little bit of polish over the PS2 version. The character models haven't been tremendously improved, but they've been cleaned up. They're a little sharper. You'll probably notice this improvement the most in the ghosts. which feature a greater level of detail, so you can actually make out some of their sick designs. But while the game hasn't exactly been given a complete overhaul, what is on hand works very well because the game's very consistent about sticking to this very sort of stylized look that all kind of clicks together really well when you're dealing with Miku and the ghosts and just the look of the mansion. Everything is suitably disturbing, and the graphics do their job very well. You'll still find a couple rough spots that they probably should have tightened up a little bit from the PS2 version, like textures and stuff that aren't quite up to par, but for the most part, it's looking fine. Now, while the game's graphics aren't quite all they could be on the Xbox, the game's audio is... The sound was pretty disturbing in the PS2 game, but in the Xbox it sort of bumped up a couple notches. The support of Dolby 5.1 is very cool because even more so than the graphics that have sort of moody lighting, the ambient sound in the game definitely pulls you into the experience. You're going to hear all sorts of weird noises throughout the house, and you're going to hear all kinds of bizarre rantings from the ghosts as they're lurking about, or even like when you're fighting them. It's all very unnerving. If you've got a really good Dolby 5.1 system, it's pretty creepy. It's even creepier actually if you play it with headphones, because you will jump. One of the really cool things about the game is that, in spite of the fact that the survival horror genre is, seen some miles, you can still actually find a few genuine scares in this game, which is cool because we've all been a little desensitized from being attacked by decaying Dobermans and assorted zombies over the years. Overall, Fatal Frame is a pretty solid game for the Xbox. It's good and scary. May not look the best, but it does sound the best, so it kind of balances out. There's a nice assortment of extras that are added above what was available in the PS2 game, and it's definitely a very sort of engaging experience that works well together. The only things you could really ding it for are the same problems that we had with the PS2 version, which were that you have to do a bit more backtracking than we'd like in certain parts of the game. There are certain awkward camera angles that make it difficult to fight ghosts in places, but really it's nothing that breaks the game. If you're a fan of survival horror games or just looking for something very different, you might want to keep an eye out for Fatal Frame on the Xbox, which is out now.